If you're out on the road,
Feeling like you want a podcast. All you have to do is type in Drunk of the Book and you'll find us.
where you lead, we will be there.
Anywhere that you want us to.
Hey, Olivia.
Hi, Ashley.
Welcome to Drunk of the Book Club.
A podcast for lonely, drunk bookcasters.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Clink.
What are you
Just
drinking?
wave it around. I'm drinking a gin and tonic.
Looks like it.
What are you drinking?
This is tequila with some juice and sports drink.
Wow, you're a real runner now.
I'm a real runner. This is Immune Support electrolyte beverage.
Wow. You are just like replenishing as you drink. I love it.
Hey, it is humid out here. I am sweating a lot. I gotta replenish those electrolytes. It is crucial.
Well, it looks like a tropical drink in your glass.
Honestly, it's really good. I wasn't sure. It was mostly that I didn't want to drink just straight tequila and juice, but I don't have like seltzer or anything right now. So I was like, well, we'll add this and see what happens, and I'm impressed.
It looks good.
Yeah. And now, yeah, like you said, I'm hydrating and drinking at the same time. So, okay.
Whew.
What did we read?
Okay. Well, we read Crying in H Mart, a memoir by Michelle Zauner. You want to tell us what it was about, since your day was very full of that?
So, I had mentioned to Ashley that I kept putting off reading this book because every time I opened it, it was very emotional. So I read the entire thing today. And
What
essentially,
an emotional last day.
yeah. Oh my gosh, I literally was throwing this book crying. It was awful. But not the book. The book was great. But it's, like you said, a memoir. It is the story of her mother. Well, generally it's the story of her mother becoming sick and the process of losing your mom and the memories that you have of growing up, teenage years, the difficulties that mother-daughter or parent-child can go through, and the process of losing, and then grieving and trying to recover afterwards, broadly. And Crying in H Mart, Michelle is half Korean, her mother was Korean, and so it kind of starts out with her in H Mart, which is a Korean market, remembering sort of the recipes that her mother used to make, her struggling with her identity, in that losing her Korean side of the family, does that make her Korean anymore, and trying to figure out how to carry on some of those recipes. Food is a big part of the book, and a big part of that identity for her. So overall, loss of mother, but also struggling with identity and culture, and a lot of food.
Yeah. That was very
anything?
good description. I mean, I think you got everything. I think if you like, modern music, you may also know her as,
Japanese
she's
breakfast.
not like as Japanese Breakfast, but it's her band, like, it's not just her, right? But she's like the lead.
Yeah.
Like, she is the songwriter, I think, primarily. So,
Yeah.
you might know her as Japanese Breakfast or the lead of Japanese Breakfast. So some of it too, I think I might describe as like a little bit of like she weaves in a little bit of like her own life story in terms of like coming of age and figuring out how she's gonna she becomes a musician she was always a musician, but she becomes a professional musician at the end of the book. And so if you were like already a fan of her music, you might be curious too, just about like the music side of things. So
right, and
some of it is like, oh, go ahead.
Oh no, that's kind of like the identity part also, right? In that she grows up loving music, learning how to play music, learning how to write music, and her mom not really pushing that side or supporting that side as much, and like learning how to balance that. But yeah, sorry, keep going.
No, I was just gonna say, like, some people might, like, if you're a fan, you might be wanting to read it because you want more insight into the music. Like, I don't know about you, but sometimes when I'm, like, really into a band, I want to know, like, everything about them.
Yes.
But I would warn big fans that there isn't, like, a lot about the band. Like, there is not a lot about the music. It's really much more focused on, like, her and her relationship with her mom and the grief. And I think something that's really interesting is, like, even if she wasn't a famous musician, I still think that this would be a book that is, like, needed to be written and would probably be published, you know?
Yeah. Well,
like, she's a great writer.
On that note, I have a horrible habit of the books that we read not learning anything about them before we read them. So I just saw that people were talking about this book, and I was like, great, let's do it, sure. Then it gets to the section of her talking about music, and then she brings up My Love, Bright Eyes, and then she brings up opening for Maria Taylor, and I start having a little baby panic attack reading this, and then I was like, wait, who is this? And I looked at the back, and I was like, wait, what? And I didn't realize that she was Japanese breakfast, part of Japanese breakfast, whatever. And I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure I've seen them live. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Shoot, I didn't know that.
I can't remember. I was trying to do research today, like remembering what show it would have been. Because I know she's doing some shows, they are doing some shows with Bright Eyes on this tour. So I was like, I can't remember if it was that they were supposed to open the last time I had tickets that was canceled, or if I've actually seen Japanese breakfast before.
Yeah.
But, yeah, my little 30-year-old heart was having... This book was very difficult to read for a lot of reasons, but then also I felt a kinship to that moment of, like, writing in your live journal, and then there was the one girl who would always quote Bright Eyes lyrics, and then she happened to open for Maria Taylor after doing open mic nights. The first open mic I ever did was a Maria Taylor song. Aww. And don't worry, it's not my password anymore, but she talks about the song Xanax in this book, that Maria Taylor song, and my password forever was one Xanax one, like to my live journal and everything. It was like that Maria Taylor song. So I was having like a lot of moments during that chapter.
Well, yeah, she's like our age too. Like,
yeah,
this book is very much like of like the teen culture, the young adult like 20s culture she was steeped in is like that's us.
It's us, yeah. It was interesting. But yeah, if you are reading this for the history of the band and her musical life, you will get about 10% of that in this book.
Yeah.
Maybe, like, give or take. But that part is interesting.
Yes.
I think you do learn a decent amount from it, but I would not read it with the intention of just learning the musical history of her.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. But you read this a while ago. You had already finished it.
I didn't finish it that long ago. It took me a while to get into because I think, like you, I was like... Actually, no. I'm lying. Initially, when I first started reading it, I was, like, right into it. But then it got really sad, and so it took me... In, like, maybe the second quarter of it, I actually read pretty slowly because just like you knew what was going to happen and it was just like really sad. Yeah. And so I kind of stretched that out because I just often wasn't like in a place for that. And then I finished like the second half super quick. So it's like I read it super quickly at the beginning. Then it got like tough emotionally. not that it was, like, easy emotionally in the second half, but I think maybe just, like, me wanting to be in the right place to read it. But then in the second half, when I, like, sped through it, it was just, I really thought her writing was engaging. And so, I couldn't put the book down, so I ended up finishing it very quickly.
Yeah. Her writing style was very engaging, and I noticed, maybe it's because I read it all in one day that I noticed this, but there was a lot of repetition in the beginning and the end, like, almost, like, sandwiching with the same ideas, and now I'm forgetting what they were, but, one was maybe about some, like, words that she learned as a kid, one was maybe a recipe. Oh, one was the food. They talked about a dish, and I think it was her 25th birthday in the beginning. She was, and they made me this dish because you eat it on your birthday, because they also serve it to mothers postpartum.
Oh, yeah.
And you eat it on your birthday to, like, celebrate your mother.
Honor. Yeah.
And it's, like, the same paragraph is at the end of the book on her 26th birthday.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, and so there's some things that are, like, verbatim almost, like in the beginning. Which I thought was kind of a cool... At first I was like, wait, didn't I just read this? But then I was like, oh, that's kind of a cool way to bookend this book, you know? Adding stories.
Yeah.
And
yes.
It's like, yeah, life as it was before will continue to be life as it is after.
Yeah. Yeah.
Slightly different, but continuing on. Yeah. The parts that you were saying that are hard to get, it's tough. It was... I, like, even though I did read it today, there was moments that I was putting it down. I was just crying. It was really hard. But I would argue that it was hard from the beginning. Like, when she's in H Mart and she's talking about eating and she sees a son and his mom sitting there and she's saying, like, I want to tell him to, like, be nice to his mom, to not take advantage of these moments and to be there. And she sees, like, I can't remember if that's in the beginning, she sees an older woman and she's saying, I can't help but be angry that she's still here and my mom is gone. Like, all that stuff was just, like,
that was at the beginning.
From the beginning, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
This is, like, heartbreaking.
It really was.
I will say, I have lost a lot of people this year, so...
Yeah.
Maybe it's a little bit, like, my perception's a little bit tainted. If you haven't lost a lot of people, maybe it wouldn't be quite as hard. So don't 100% take my word for it. But if you have lost a lot of people, it's hard.
Yeah. I mean, so this book, I've, for whatever reason, been seeing, like, a ton of people posting about it on social media. You know, sometimes I guess it's just everybody's reading the same book. But, like, every single time I see somebody post about it, they are talking about how it's like, you're gonna cry when you read this book. And then even when I bought this at the bookstore, the woman who was selling it to me was like, this is such a good book, you're gonna cry. Like, it's just, I think, I mean, it's heavy. So I think you're not, there's a lot. Even if you have, like, experienced grief recently, if you've experienced grief a long time ago, if you've never experienced grief even, I think it's just like, you know, mother-daughter relationships are tough. And she is not, like, describing the perfect mother-daughter relationship. Like, it's very complicated. And in fact, I think she does a really good job of kind of bringing you along as a reader at the beginning. Kind of feeling like her mom's being a bitch, fuck her. No offense, I feel bad saying that. But, and then as you go through, like, learning more about her mom, learning more about the relationship, learning more about, like, the ways that, you know, she showed love, just like she is discovering all of this, you know, just as she is understanding, essentially, like, her mom's love language. And so I just felt like she did an excellent job of bringing you along as a reader through that experience. So, again, even if you've never experienced grief, but you have complicated feelings about mothers, your mother, other people's mother, I mean, it's just, it's a tough book either way, you know?
Yeah, totally. And I think that's a great point, too. And that's also part of why it's so, like, gut-wrenching at times, because part of it is just looking at relationships and looking at how you view relationships, whether they are tough or whether they're easy, and how at the end of the day you're going to be looking back at these relationships and reliving some of these moments and considering, you know, maybe the mom was totally wrong and awful and did something terrible, and maybe I was also totally awful and terrible, you know, and how you're kind of forced to relive some of those moments, whether they're beautiful or dark, when it gets down to these last days. But I think also what you said in that it helps her learn more about love too, in her relationship with Peter. Yeah,
Peter.
And how, what does she say? I think she says, like, it wasn't until those moments where he was just there for her, when he, like, drove to New York, that she realized, like, that's really love, you know, and that's really being there for someone. Oh, and her dad being there for her mom in the last days, even though it was not perfect and not ideal necessarily, that's what being with someone for sickness and health and better or worse means, and how she wanted to be that with somebody. You know? I mean, it was beautiful. It was a great book. I
totally agree. And she didn't shy away from, like, you know, things that are ugly or things that are less than flattering. You know, herself and her parents, and I think that that's, like, really authentic and honest, because you know, sometimes you read memoirs and you don't know, you haven't lived somebody else's life, so you don't know how much it's sanitized. Sometimes you can tell because it's just, like, too sanitized, but for this book, I mean, she got real.
I know. There were moments where I was like, oh my god, I can't believe you told us that.
I was like, whoa.
And spoiler alert, like we always have, but when she's talking about the moment where her mom goes to hit her, and she realizes, like, I'm bigger than her, what is she gonna do? And her dad is there, and the mom is yelling, like, hit her. I was oh my god, like, why? I feel like I should not be hearing this part of the story. But also, I feel very lucky that you are willing to share this with us, because it is important to the story, and it's important to this memory of everything. But yeah, she doesn't seem to hold back.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we don't know everything, but...
Yeah.
And it's like, she's not making... I mean, I know that there could be a tendency to either, like, write characters who are no longer alive as, like, all, you know, angelic or all, you know, demonic. Like, they were either like the most perfect person and you don't hear about anything negative, or they were, like, the worst person and you don't hear about anything positive. And I think, like, she's, like, really grappling with the complication and the reality of, like, her mom, her dad, her family, their relationships. Like, it was not all one or the other. There were times when I was like, wow, her mom is awful, wow, her dad is awful, wow, she's awful. And there were times when I'm like, wow, this is a beautiful relationship and so positive, and, you know, it's so, I think she did, like, a fantastic job, and, like we were saying, like, really brought the reader in, you know, as much as we can tell, on some stuff that I think humanizes her and the story and her family, in this really raw sort of way.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, even the moments, gosh, I think that's part of why it was so gut-wrenching and sad, too. Not just the loss of your mom and the detail of that, but, like, the moments where she's having a hard time saying, like, is this going to be the end of my relationship with my father? Like, that's making me teary-eyed now. Like, what a... That's something I don't ever want to think about losing my parents, but I can't imagine that being something that you're struggling with on top of losing a parent, thinking that, like, that's the only thing that's holding you to the other parent. Like, gosh, what a tough thing. And they have moments. I love that they did the little vacation together afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
But they have moments in that vacation afterwards too, where it seems like they just don't want to be with each other at all.
Yeah,
And it's just, like, heart-wrenching. It's so sad. And it makes me grateful that, well, again, I don't want to think about losing my parents, but I don't think I have a relationship with either my parents where I would fear losing the other.
Right.
You know?
Right. Right. You're not, like, you don't have a relationship that's mediated through the other one.
Right, yeah. But, gosh, I mean, I think she just, it feels very pure when you're reading it. Like you've said. Like, it doesn't feel like she's necessarily holding back. It doesn't feel like she's embellishing necessarily. It just feels like it's written from the heart. This is a matter of fact. Like, this is what happened. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, I don't know if we've really read anything like that before that's felt, for the podcast at least, it's felt that kind of honest.
I know. Like, the only other thing that really comes to mind for me is, like, Hunger.
Right, that's true. Yeah.
That's a totally different, you know.
But it's different,
that's the only thing that I remember us kind of really being like, whoa, this is real, you know?
Yeah, that's true. I'm gonna say my line, and that maybe now I want to read Hunger again. And compare it. I did bring that with me to New York, so I did hold on to that one.
Oh my gosh.
But that's a good point. Like, maybe that was the other one that felt really real.
That's the only one that's immediately jumping to my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I've had such a visceral reaction to a book. Like, I was laying there, like, hitting the book on my bed, reading it. Like, it was tough. But I feel like that made it really special. You know? Like, what am I doing hitting a book against a bed? Like, what is that? But it was, like, really reading it was, like, felt like I was losing my own family. You know? It was so real and just, it was great.
It was an experience. It wasn't just, like, a passive read.
And, I mean, so many funny things, too, which, as you mentioned, like, this is our age, that I can relate to. And she was in Korea as a kid, and someone goes up to her mom and hands a business card, and she was like, I'm gonna be a Korean star. And it's like, I remember being young and being like, and we've talked about this before, like, hoping that you're discovered at the mall or whatever, and being like, I'm gonna be a star, I'm gonna be on Nickelodeon or whatever, and, like, just, like, hearing her version of that too, like, I can do it, I can be a Korean star. And she was like, you don't even wear a hat when I want you to wear a hat. When mommy tells you to put a hat on, you don't do it. And she's like, oh, you're right. Like, when I look back on it, she was right or whatever, but like, there are moments like that that just feel really honest also, that I enjoy.
Yes. She's like, yeah, my mom, she knew me. I thought I wanted that, but no.
No, I wouldn't have done well. Yeah. I liked that a lot. Also, I felt really attacked when she was talking about LiveJournal and Maria Taylor and MySpace and I can't. Oh, and Yaz and Karen O is like my favorite human in the world, and I was just like,
oh my god,
why is this me?
It's too close to home, yeah.
It's like, why were we all the same 15-year-old? How is that possible?
So dramatic, too.
Yeah. Oh, God.
So emotional.
Yeah. God. I am embarrassed. But, like, when she was talking about that song and the lyrics were in it, I was, like, singing it out loud. It's like, yeah, I love this song.
Like, yep, this book was definitely written with a particular audience in mind. Or, like, not really, but it hits a particular audience in a certain way.
Exactly. And I didn't even know that going into it. I was like, wow. Okay.
So, yeah.
This is
I mean,
personal.
I heard about this book initially from my dad, I think. And then I saw, we talked about last time, we have a bunch of people we know who have read it.
Yeah.
But I have not had a chance to really talk to anybody about their experience of reading it yet. So, like,
we should have had your dad on the podcast.
I don't think he's read it, though. I think he just heard about it and he likes Japanese books.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he was like, you should read that.
Because that's how you sent me the photo. You're like, you sent me a screenshot of your dad saying, I should read this. That's how I heard of it, too.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have a lot of friends that read it. Yeah, how come no one told us?
Yeah, exactly. No warnings.
Where
were the warnings, people?
No one said, hey, I read this book and it absolutely ripped my heart out of my body.
Yes.
No one said anything.
Well, the woman at the bookstore told me.
The man at the bookstore did not tell me.
Well, can't get nothing from men, so.
That's true. That's a really good point.
I will say, the food in here, like, a lot of it was, like, stuff that you and I don't eat because we're vegetarians.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of it was stuff I don't necessarily know. Like, I'm not very, like, well-versed in Korean food. Like, shame on me. But it still made me, like, hungry. Like, the way that she writes about food. I want to see her write about something, like, plain. Like, I want to see how she would describe, like, a freaking, like, peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Because it's, like, so like, the salt's, like, exploding in your mouth. And I'm just like, damn, I'm getting hungry.
Totally. I know a little bit about Korean food. I know a few Korean people who have taught me about Korean food. So I at least knew the words. Like, I haven't necessarily had it all, because obviously vegetarian, I can't. But I knew a little bit about what she was talking about. But yeah, I mean, even the moments where she was like, with extra steamy broth. And I was like, I've never thought to order something with extra steamy broth, and that alone sounds amazing. Like,
I know.
Just the way she talked about everything, even broth and soup, I was like, wow, what a genius idea. I'm going to do that from now on.
Sounds so good.
Yeah, she talked about it really well. And I, like, actually today, I was like, if it wasn't so hot and humid, I would probably go try to find some
would have been a good
brothy
idea.
soup today. But I'm, like, already sweating, so it would be a bad call.
I want to, like, I kept on thinking as I was reading, and then I just kept on forgetting. I want to go find that YouTuber she was describing. So when, like, she's trying to connect with, like, her Korean culture, and then her mom's friend, who's, like, feeling a lot of ownership over her mom, refuses to teach her how to make any food.
Yeah. Don't worry about this one. It's like,
I know. It's just like, fuck this bitch. But, then she finds that YouTuber, and, like, she, like, is using the recipes to, like, help her mom, but also, like, help her. Anyways, I'm like, I want to go, like,
I know.
Find her and make some of this food. It sounds, like, really fucking good.
I know, I want to do it, too. I also, speaking of that friend, her name was Kay, right? Was it Kay?
Yeah, Kay.
At the very end, I saw her side of it all. Like, when Kay goes gambling and gets drunk and she wins the TV and she leaves and she says, you guys are so selfish to the husband and daughter.
I
was like, oh, I kind of get it. Everybody is experiencing the loss right now. Like, she just also wants to be there for her friend.
Yeah.
And she is the one that is bringing that, like, Korean familiarity that her mom might want right now as she's sick and dying. And they just can't let anyone else have any say in that. Which I also get. It's your mom. Yeah. It's your wife. Like, you want to be the ones there for her. But, like, when she said it and she said, you're so selfish. And at the end, her mom was like, she had a good time. I was like, oh, I see it. They're just friends that wanted to spend time together.
Yeah. No, I get it. But
in the beginning, I was like, I hate you. Like, why aren't you teaching her this food? Why weren't you letting her be there when you shaved her head? Like, come on.
Yeah. I mean, Kay definitely, like, took on so much responsibility. Like, she took on so much care and was really, like, leading the whole process. Because, you know, Michelle and her dad were, like, grieving hardcore and were not in a place where they were very good at, like, managing.
Yeah, they couldn't do it.
But I also feel like maybe the description of Kay and, like, how she... Remember, she was supposed to stay for a while and then she decided to stay on. Like, I think that's a really good reminder for, like, caregivers in those positions. Or if you are, like, able or need to take on that caregiving position, like, how important it is to carve away time for yourself, to not take it all onto you, to balance it where you can, because it was just, like, too much for one person, you know?
Of course, yeah. I mean,
rough.
I can't even imagine. But I can also understand why each of them individually would be feeling like, I have to be the one that handles this. Like, I'm in it now, I have to be the one. Also, I kind of... Obviously, this isn't something we can really know unless her dad wrote a book or her mom wrote a book, but I kind of wanted to know more about their relationship because...
Yeah.
Like, there was little things that were mentioned occasionally, like, Michelle had briefly said, like, do you think he'll remarry? And she was like, yeah, probably another Asian woman. And it's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like, is that really how that relationship felt? Like, it seemed like the story from earlier, they seemed so in love, and they met, and everything was great, but is that really how her mother felt? Or is that, like, a bitter thing that you say at the end where you're just, like, angry at stuff, you know?
Right.
I just really want to know some more of that
stuff.
I
did too.
And her dad obviously had a horrible life also, and...
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I am guilty of always thinking everybody's always queer, but I totally, like, I was like, okay, so she was mentioning how, like, the dad cheats on the mom, and, like, they're both, like, very explicitly, like, we don't have sex, which I thought was, like, interesting, kind of weird, and then the relationship that she had with Kay, and there were all these things, like, you'll never know, and I was just like, I wonder, but, you know, I always think everybody's queer, so I'm, like, always reading it in when it isn't even there, but it definitely made me wonder about, not that you can't have, like, I don't mean to, like, wonder about whether or not the mom and Kay had, like, maybe a more romantic or sexual than just platonic relationship, because I don't ever want to, like, assume or suggest that a platonic friendship isn't, like, fulfilling and meaningful and deep and, like, incredibly impactful and important to somebody's life, and, like, friendship romance isn't, like, as important as, like, sex romance. I don't mean that by any means, and so, like, I do feel a little bit reticent to even bring up that kind of interpretation, but I just feel like there were weird, like, veiled commentaries, like, especially with Kay, and I wish I had a page number to point to. It just made me go, interesting.
Well, that's interesting that you say that. I didn't have that read. What I was just thinking is that, like, American culture is very, like, friendship is platonic and friendship. And then you have romantic friendships. And a lot of other cultures really value friendships a lot more than I think white American cultures do.
Definitely.
And so that's kind of how I saw it, just like, oh, how beautiful is it that people can just have a really close friendship that's super valued. But that's interesting that you say that. I just didn't really have that lens when reading it, but I could see that also. I was just thinking about, like, God, we don't value friendship here that much.
Yeah. Well, and if we're going to talk about what you'll never know or never understand about your mother, kind of also definitely speaks to, there is this, she felt like there was always this barrier
Mm-hmm.
between her and her mom because, you know, she was not fully Korean in terms of, like, I guess blood, but also culture. Like, she wasn't raised in Korea in the same way that her mom was. She was there in her summers, you know.
Yeah.
It was different. She was the American. And, you know, really obviously speaks to, like, that nebulous space where it's like, you're not American enough to be American, you're not Korean enough to be Korean, so you're just somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And that's difficult, and it's its own culture in and of itself, and, you know, like, scholars have, you know, lots of really smart people have written a lot of things about this, but I think it's an interesting element that Kay, you know, was speaking to as well. It's like, you can't know your mom and, like, her experiences and what she's been through and what her life is like. You're just so different.
Right. And I think her mom even says that at some point, too. She says, you're not Korean, you're American.
Yeah,
right?
She does.
And it is tough having those different things. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of identity crisis going on in this book, though.
For sure.
Oh, I do remember one thing I was going to say, not related to that. But another similarity is that she goes to an all-women's college.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
I was like, dang.
I was really hoping that she was going to be like a Mills woman that we didn't know about. But.
I know. I'm always hoping it's going to be a Mills woman that we didn't know about, but...
I know.
Yeah, no, but she's went to Bryn Mawr.
Bryn Mawr.
I wish I could roll my...
That's how they say it.
I wish I could do that. I can't do it. Burrito, can you stop right now?
Burrito, can you roll your R's?
In advance. You're gonna hear a lot of cat running in the background. Just going.
Well, you're gonna hear like Ricky fucking licking in the background of my side of things.
It's an animal-heavy episode. What can we say?
Yeah. Ugh.
I do want to say one thing. Peter wasn't a huge part of the book, but I loved their relationship.
Oh, yeah.
And I loved
I
what he
peed,
did.
is what I thought you were going to say.
And I peed.
I peed.
No,
sorry,
I loved what he was for her.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was, like, really...
damn, is Peter for real? Like,
I know.
Shit.
Yeah, I mean, he was above and beyond, for sure. But...
I know.
Even before... Like, I liked their relationship even before, like...
Yeah.
She was... Like, later on, she was... It comes up in the beginning and then later on where she's joking about, how she was in love with him forever and just waiting for him to, like...
Yes.
Join her side. And he gets that bad accident where he gets beaten up and he's in the hospital.
Yeah.
And how later they joke that she paid them to beat some sense into him. Just afterwards, he, like, sees the light and, like...
Yeah, he's
likes
like,
her, too.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I just thought that relationship is funny, and I like that.
Yes. And, yes.
Yeah.
I agree. I was just like... A, that's cute, and B, like, damn, talk about, like, a ride or die. That's, like, for sure. Peter is solid.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
And they're solid, you know, their relation, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, like, Peter's the only thing holding them together, and she fucking sucks.
Yeah. No, but he definitely pulls more than his weight in the relationship. But even, like, when she's like, we need to get married... And then she realizes, like, okay, it's happening. She goes, it's okay, we can get divorced later. He's like, we're not getting divorced. She's like, I'm just saying,
cute.
We can.
Really, yeah.
Yeah. I liked their relationship. And they were young. I kind of forgot age range by the end of the book. It felt like so much time had passed.
Yeah.
And I was like, gosh, she just turned 25 or 26. I can't remember.
I know.
But I also thought that was really special that she wanted her mom to be there for that.
Yeah. It sounds like it was kind of magical, you know, like they
Yeah.
were in the backyard and everybody was able to be there.
Yeah.
That was cool. It was sad, but it was cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I loved how I was just like re-flipping through things before we started recording, and I glanced at when she's talking about at the very end when she's going on tour,
Mm-hmm.
and she's in Korea, and she's talking about like how it's kind of like, you know, it feels wrong how after her mom dies all of this shit starts just going like wildly wonderful for her, like
Yeah.
you know, her band and, you know, is going on tour, and she never thought she would be like literally on tour in, you know, Korea, in her home, you know,
Right.
her ancestral home nation. Anyways, and she describes how like she envisions her mom like with her foot on God's neck, just like, if you're gonna take us away from each other, you better make it fucking worth it.
Totally. It's so good.
I know. I
Oh
loved
my
it.
gosh, yeah. And honestly, that's fitting. Like, from what we read
Yeah.
of the mother, like,
Yes.
it makes sense.
Yes, exactly.
I love it. Yeah. I will say, the one thing, I don't know what just made me think of this, that I was shocked by is also
Mhm.
towards the end. She says something about her dad, and she says, and he moves his thinning black hair out of his face. And I was like, black hair?
Actually, yes, I also was like, that is not what I was picturing.
For some reason, that's not what I expected at all.
I
and I feel
pictured like a sort of burly blonde, like,
Same.
mountain man.
Same.
Yeah.
I did too. And I was like, wait, was there no description of him earlier and that's just what I imagined? Or was there a description and I just picked a hair color that was blonde? But when she said he
How
moved
funny
his
that
thinning,
we were picturing that too, though, like, both of us were.
I know. That's so weird. But yeah, when she said
Yeah.
his thinning black hair, I was like, hold on. Who?
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
are we
Also
talking-
thinning. I was picturing, like, a hairy dude. I was not picturing, like, somebody with thinning hair either.
Yeah. I think she does a lot of description of her and her mom.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe she just didn't do much of her dad.
Well,
I
he
don't
doesn't
know.
have a black-haired personality.
Not at all. He definitely has, like, blonde or, like, strawberry blonde personality.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
Like, nothing
he has the
about
wrong
that
hair
makes
color.
sense to me. Like, my brain...
it makes sense to me.
My brain cannot comprehend that that man went through that childhood, you know, went to Korea to work that job, just randomly took the job, and then,
Mhm.
like, lived in 4 different countries with his wife, and then came back to America, and has black hair. That just doesn't
No.
make sense.
It's wrong.
This isn't an
He has the
emo
wrong
guy
hair
from
color.
1999 or whatever. This is like a dad. It doesn't make any sense.
I know. You know, that is weird, but I also, like, yeah, I don't know what it is, but no, it's a no. It's
Mm-mm.
not him.
Mm-mm. Nope. I need to look up photos of all of them and see what if there's photos of her parents, because
Yeah.
I'm convinced she didn't describe him correct.
She lied. She's
That's-
mistaken.
That's where the lie in the story is. It's in describing her father. Like, no. You got that wrong.
Oh my god. Yeah. I don't know. You were looking at the wrong guy your whole life.
That's
not him.
That's not him. No wonder you had so many weird feelings when your mom passed. Because it's the wrong guy.
Oh my god.
You're talking about the wrong dude. It's weird.
Who is he even? Who is
Who's
that
this
guy?
guy? He's
Oh my
wrong.
God.
Yeah, I have to find photos.
Well, I accidentally clicked on. I started typing Michelle Zauner, and I accidentally clicked Michelle Zauner husband,
Oh.
and
Yeah, what is
he looks basically like I expected.
Yeah.
Can you see it all?
Oh, that makes sense. That's fitting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, he does have black hair.
You're surprised. looks like it looks like a good fit now.
I pictured this with like blonde or strawberry blonde hair.
Yeah. I picture him that way, but just different hair.
Yeah. Interesting.
Well, I'm glad we've got that figured out.
I will say, I liked that part in the book where her parents meet Peter and they go to like a Korean restaurant and the mom is like super pleased with everything he knows and she likes him. Mm-hmm. And then they decide to go to the spa place. And her dad is like, I bet he flakes before it. And her mom is like, I bet he doesn't. And he just, like, goes into the spa, and she's like, money. Give me the $100.
I loved that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was like, oh, that's great.
I loved that.
Oh, can we also talk about... I kind of, for some reason, thought you would bring this up. Now I don't want...
What?
Now I don't want to.
Oh, no.
The jokes they talk about that they have where they, like, do finger guns and they poke them in the butt. They're called, like, poop needles? And I was like, what is this? And I was like, Ashley's gonna bring up when I said you poked the dog in the butt. And I sat there for a good 20 minutes today being like, but you wouldn't say on the butt, you say you poke them in the butt. And I was like...
No, but you said poke him in the butthole. I just really want to make clear that is where the... So, listeners, Olivia one time...
But you wouldn't say on. I literally had like a 10-minute discussion with my... Okay, go ahead.
I'm telling him. She said... Why were we talking about this? Anyways, she was like, oh, dogs hate it when you poke them in the butthole. I always poked Carmine in the butthole with my toe. And I'm like, what the fuck? Why were you poking Carmine's butthole?
Carmine, it was my childhood dog, by the way.
Yeah. And then second of all, Ricky did not mind being poked in the butthole. If you recall, didn't you try to, like, poke his butt with your toe? And he was just like, what?
I didn't care at all. Okay, but what I meant was when you, like, poked their butt, they always, like, tucked their butt under, and I would always go, whoa!
That is cute.
When he would do it, and so, but I feel like
But you said butthole.
I think that was a drunken mistake. I didn't mean butthole. I meant butt.
Well, now I warn Ricky when he's being bad. I'm like, watch out, I'm gonna poke in the butthole, Ricky. Like, go. If he'll, like, not walk on a walk, he'll, like, plop his butt and be like, I'm not walking. But if you don't walk, I'm gonna poke you in the butthole. So, I think I get the poop needle. Like, honestly, like, if that spurs people to action, I feel like I would use that move. Like, alright, watch out. If you don't hurry the fuck up, I'm gonna poke you in the butthole.
I was like, Ashley, I literally had a conversation with myself. I was like, Ashley's gonna bring this up. She's gonna say they're poking people in the butthole like you poked dogs. And I was getting ready to be like, but what else do you say? You don't say poke on. You say poke in. Because if I
it's true. Poke in the butt.
Yeah, I don't say I poke you on.
In the butt?
Poke
your butt.
Poke your butt. Now I've said the word poke too much. I don't know. It doesn't sound like a word anymore.
Well, my favorite thing is that you're the one who brought this up.
I know.
I totally forgot about it.
I failed. I messed up so bad today. But I wanted to bring up the poop needle. What a weird name.
Yeah, the name is pretty horrifying.
But again, I'm wondering if that's like the literal translation. You know, is poop.
Did you look it up online? Did you look up poop needle?
No, but that's what she said was the translation. Like, she has it in there in Korean.
I know.
She said...
But I'm wondering what happens when you
Google poop needle? I'm gonna let you Google that. I'm not Googling poop needle.
Oh, poop needle Korean. And, Kim's Convenience, which I've been, like, meaning to watch that show. So apparently it's mentioned on that show.
Okay.
Dongchim, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, is the bizarre South Korean game where children are allowed to poke you in the bum. It's a popular prank that involves using your index fingers to poke someone in between the bum cheeks with as much force as you can muster. This is an article on thesun.com.
Wow. I mean, I will say
And yes,
that I like when she's talking about, she's like, but not in like an assault way. I was like, oh, okay. Thank you for the clarification. What?
yeah,
She said, we just poked each other in the butthole. It's like, oh,
it's no big.
noted. Okay.
Oh wait, Wikipedia says concho, I don't know if I'm saying it right, is a prank performed by clasping the hands together in the shape of an imaginary gun and attempting to poke an unsuspecting victim's anus.
Yeah.
Just makes it sound way worse. Often while explaining concho. It is a common prank among children in East Asian countries such as Japan. In Korea it's called dongchim. In China it is popular called something that I don't know if I can pronounce.
I feel like that's literally how she explained it in here. You make the finger gun and you poke them in the anus.
Yeah. In English-speaking countries, the prank is known as goosing.
We have that prank?
Goosing?
Oh, like a goose head.
Is that what it is?
Like,
I feel like this is something from the 80s. This is before our time.
yeah. Maybe so.
Weird.
But I feel like that made
Goose.
sense, like a goose. You know, a goose beak.
I feel like I need to take a screenshot of you making that little pokey movement. Wow. Okay. Wow. Okay. We have we should wrap up.
We've derailed.
'cause-
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well. Okay. What rating would you give this?
Oh, I think I rated it a 5. Or how high does it go on Goodreads?
I haven't rated it yet on Goodreads, but I would give it a 5.
Goodreads. I'll give it a 5.
Yeah,
Yep.
I would give it a 5 as well.
I'm glad we agree.
And you would recommend it to somebody?
I would. But I think I'm going to probably pass this along to my dad because he was the one who originally mentioned it to me.
I would let someone borrow this, but I would want it back.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's
Because I think, I know I've said this before, I've stopped saying it, but I think when I may be in a healthier mindset, I would want to try and read it again. You know.
I'm going to read it again. And I'm going to take notes.
I
this
said
time.
I stopped saying it because I don't do that. But with this one, I think I would. Like, I don't know when I'll be in a healthier mindset to do that, but I'm sure that there's stuff. There was definitely sections that I had to skim over because I couldn't do it. So that's why I'm like, one day I would like to reread it so that I can just get the details that I might have missed the first time. But I loved it. Highly recommend. 5 out of 5. What are we reading next? New book by Seth Rogen.
Perfect.
And other people can send us recommendations.
Please do.
Also,
if you would like to be on our episode to talk about a book, please let us know.
Send us that DM or email us or tweet us or, is that it? Instagram, email, Twitter.
Yeah.
All Drunk of the Book.
Yep. At Drunk of the Book. And you can also go to our website at drunkofthebook.com. And
or Spotify, Apple Music.
Find us at Drunk
YouTube?
of the Book Club. Yep. Find us on YouTube, Drunk of the Book Club.
Cool. So wait, anything else?
Type in
Yeah,
Drunk
I think
of
we're
the
good.
Book, and you'll find
Let's
us
get
reading.
We will be
Slow
there
down. I don't know.
Anywhere that you want us to.